Medical reform in the Antebellum period. Before the Antebellum time period, medical technology was not very advanced. However, it did start to progress in the Antebellum period, and the three areas that were most developed were New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago. During the Antebellum in the South, where slavery was common, black slaves acted as midwives and performed nursing duties for their owners. Catholic nuns also performed nursing duties, but theirs were for soldiers in the Civil War as an act of kindness and to help those in need. In the early 1800s, the medical industry was not very developed, and the United States actually only contained 3 hospitals and only 98 qualified surgeons. Not unlike many aspects of the time period, women did not have the right to become surgeons or doctors. However, Elizabeth Blackwell was the first woman physician, and her first infirmary opened in May of 1857. The first use of anesthetic took place in 1846 by a doctor named William Thomas Green Morton. In 1867, Dr. Joseph Lister introduces the first antiseptic used to prevent infection after surgery took place. Also in 1867, carbolic acid spray was invented, and it was used to kill germs in hospitals. One of the most common procedures that took place was the amputation of limbs. Patients' bones would be sawn through while they were fully awake. Other common procedures were the removal of tumors, the reparation of hernias and cataracts, and the setting of fractures. In July of 1893, Daniel Hale Williams performed the first heart surgery. The man lived and recovered after only 2 months. The most common diseases of the time period were typhoid, typhus, measles, mumps, malaria, yellow fever, dengue fever, and smallpox. Smallpox was the worst disease that existed in the antebellum time period, but in 1798, the cowpox vaccine was used to cure smallpox. Leeches were used widely during the antebellum time period. Doctors believed that leeches stuck onto the patient's body would suck out the bad blood and heal the patients of any illness. However, this never worked. Doctors also believed that herbs could cure any illness or injury, ranging from the common cold to a broken leg. Doctors would have patients eat the herbs, mix them with their foods and eat the food, and also even burn the herbs and inhale the resulting air. After people gained knowledge of the common diseases in the time period, allopathics in the form of pills were distributed to patients and eventually became the most common treatment for illnesses. Along with new medication, new technology also came about in the antebellum time period, such as the invention of the stethoscope in 1816 by René Laennec. In the 1850s, the Du Bois chloroform inhaler was invented and used for patients undergoing surgery as an anesthetic. Another substantial medical invention of the 1800s was that of the pulse writer by Etienne Jules Murray in 1863. Throughout the antebellum time period, there was a very wide lack of education due to the shortage of medical schools and the shortage of people to teach at those schools. Another technological advance was the establishing of the surgical amphitheater in 1804 in Philadelphia. However, the procedures there were very unsanitary, and sterile techniques were not used until the 1890s. Doctors actually wore used lab coats unwashed for years at a time. While the advancements were nowhere close to today's, the medical industry did develop greatly in the antebellum time period, and we will now compare that to today's developments. Today, there are actually 141 accredited medical schools in the United States alone. Today, California, Florida, and Texas are the most medically developed areas, each containing over 200 hospitals. In 2003, doctors were actually able to map out the entire genetic material of a human being. This was known as the Human Genome Project. As of 2010, there were 4,985 hospitals in the United States and 3,950 rural health clinics, such as ReadyMed. In the United States, there are about 26 physicians per 10,000 people. And that may seem small, but that actually totals to about almost 810,000 people in the United States. Today, patients can actually enter a hospital, have their surgery, and be released the next day. Organs can also be transplanted between patients through major surgery, and organs can also be transported between hospitals, even across the country for patients who need them. Another amazing procedure that takes place is the reattachment of severed limbs and other body parts. In 1998, doctor and scientist James Thompson introduced the idea of stem cell therapy. Stem cell treatments are a type of intervention strategy that introduce new cells into damaged tissue in order to treat disease and injury. The five most common diseases in the United States are heart disease, cancer, cerebral vasculatory disease, lower respiratory infection, and HIV. These diseases kill a total of almost 26.5 million people each year. Along with diseases come medicine to treat those diseases. And in 2011 alone in the United States, 3,764,698,318 prescription drugs were written by doctors. Along with prescription drugs, there are also over-the-counter drugs that are sold. And the top five in the United States are Lipitor, Nexium, Plavix, Advair, and Abilify. Within the past year, the National Foundation for Cancer Research has found 19 new drug candidates and potential cancer therapeutics for cancer patients, and they have also found 3 potential cancer preventative measures. Some everyday medical technology that now exists is the use of email and fax and telephone for important messages. Today, with medical technology, most, if not all, medical records are kept electronically. A magnetic resonance imaging machine, also known as an MRI, is a machine that makes pictures of organs and structures inside the body. It is used mostly to detect cancer and to scan the brain. Another machine, similar to the MRI, invented in 1971, is the CT scanner. A CT scan uses special X-ray equipment for cross-section pictures of the body. It gives detailed images of organs, bones, and other tissues, and can be used to find tumors and to track the progression of cancer. Another very common and modern machine used today is the ultrasound imaging machine. This machine emits high-frequency sound waves to produce precise images. It is used most commonly for women during pregnancy to track the fetus, and is also used to guide medical procedures, check for heart conditions, and to diagnose certain types of cancer. The medical industry has grown greatly since the antebellum period, and it generated $227,551,806,436 in total sales for prescription drugs in 2011 alone. There are a total of 1.9 million people in the United States living without a limb, and this accounts for $900 million total dollars of the medical industry. In 1958, the pacemaker was invented by Room Elmquist for patients who had heart problems in order to regulate their heartbeat. Another technological aid for the body was the artificial liver, invented by Kenneth Matsumura in 2001. As you can see, medication, technology, and the medical industry as a whole has come a long way since the early 1800s.